every once in a while you get somebody on that just completely supersedes all of the recognition that recent guests have. I mean, we have major political figures and theatrical people and authors, and then comes along somebody who says, well, wait a minute, hold it. I have to leave the Oval Office at the White House in order to... All right, well, I can make it on a Tuesday. And I am so delighted. Dr. Carlos Castillo-Chavez, welcome, ASU Regents Professor and ASU Regents Professor in Mathematical Biology. What is the Joaquin Bustos Jr.? Please explain that.
I moved about 8 years ago to Arizona State University.
From Cornell, right?
From Cornell, being recruited by Michael Crow, which is has transformed the university. And I was particularly recruited by a native of Tempe, Joaquin Bustos Jr. And just about 6 months before I arrived, he died in a car accident.
Oh.
And he was a native here. His parents were custodian of an elementary school, and they have a school named after his parents. And that's why a chair professorship was named on his name, and I was honored to be the first person to hold it.
Well, and we're honored to acknowledge that, too. You're a fascinating person, having done fascinating things to the degree that we have been told in advance that you are, quote, living proof that the USA is a country of opportunities. Why are people saying that about you?
Well, I came to the United States. I immigrated around 1974 and started working on a cheese factory. And from working in factories is very, very helpful. You really learn that school is the way to go. So I started school in the kind of institution that gives access to everybody, the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point. And from there, I moved to a better known school to get a master's degree, and the University of Wisconsin-Madison to get my PhD, and then on to an Ivy League school. So I think that proves that in this country, things can really happen.
Yeah, and it's a marvelous example for everybody.
Yeah.
But what about those people who would like to use you as an example, and that is the young people who came here with their parents illegally, but they were 6 months old, or a year and a half old, and they've known no other country? Do you have a solution for them?
I wish I had. What we're trying to do is to help those already here, and because by law we cannot help others, and we have established all series of programs that have helped economically disadvantaged kids. Some of them might be brothers and sisters of kids that are here undocumented, and it is just my hope that as time progresses and once the elections are over, that the true American heart, which is very compassionate and helpful, will start looking for solutions for these kids by passing the DREAM Act, which has been supported by many people from all sorts of groups, Republicans, Democrats. I hope that people will come to the common senses and they leave politics aside and let these kids be part of the system.
Yeah, I can't understand what the opposition would be to the DREAM Act, particularly if you have come here as a child and then you have a commitment and an obligation to still serve the country in some capacity or another, educationally or militarily, on your way to citizenship. It just seems to be a common sense approach. By the way, how about meeting the president? Tell us about that experience and when it happened.
Well, that was a fabulous experience. I'm a member of, I was appointed to a committee by him, the Presidential Medal of Science Committee. So I had a chance at least to shake hands with him on a couple of occasions when the Presidential Medal of Science were awarded. The last one to a mathematician, a Latino mathematician from Texas, of immigrant parents. His name is Richard Tapia, professor at Rice University. And last time he awarded my program for people with economic disadvantage called the Mathematical and Theoretical Biology Institute, that has given a lot of opportunities for the students to reach positions of leadership.
But you really are unique not only academically, but here you are, a mathematician and a scientist in one part of your life, and yet the other side of your brain was just as active. You wanted to be an actor.
Absolutely, and being next to you, shows me that maybe I chose the right profession because acting is such a competitive profession. Let me tell you, it's a lot less competitive to be a scientist than to be an actor. But I love the theater. But I really love the theater.
It's really an interesting combination, though, and a very unique combination.
Yes.
You rarely ever have the math major trying out for plays in school, and the theater is really a love of yours, I know, in reading this.
Yes.
A particular actor, a particular motion picture that may be up for an Academy Award now?
Well, in terms of in theater, I mostly was interested in Spanish theater. So some writers like Carballido that probably not too many people are familiar. But in terms of movies, I like movies like The Godfather and things of that sort.
Well, it already wrapped up a number of awards over the years. What are we going to do about American students in math and science as compared with other countries who seem to, at least apparently, by way of statistical analysis, be far ahead of us?
See, everything that I have accomplished has always involved the help of others and the mentorship of others. I could never have done anything that I have done just by myself. So what we need to do is a strong commitment of institutions like Arizona State University, which is providing access to a large number of students, and that they are trying to be judged not by who they bring in, but by who graduates. And for example, after I arrived to Arizona State University over the last 8 years, it has become the largest producer of Latino PhDs in the mathematical sciences just over the last couple of years.
I didn't know that.
And this is just an example of what providing access and opportunity to students of all backgrounds can do. And we have focused particularly, for example, in the Joaquin Bustos Jr. Math Science Honors Program on bringing students from families that have an income of less than $50,000. They need a bridge. We don't start at the same point, and everybody that is less fortunate than we are needs the opportunity to have a way to move up, and it needs the help of the society. And once you do that, they become productive members of society and leaders, and this is what gets this country going. Besides
the economic bridge that still has a number of timbers that haven't completed the bridge yet, there is also the suggestion statistically that in America, Latino parents are not as attentive to their children's education as the parents of other ethnic groups.
That's probably correct, and it's also a function that a large numbers of Latino parents came with very little education. They came to work the fields, the factories. So there is not a strong tradition among these groups of doing this. And
what can we do about that?
Well, for example, Raul Izaguirre, which is now the U.S. ambassador to the Dominican Republic, when he came to Arizona State University, he created this program where essentially would bring these parents and actually providing training to the parents on how to provide their students for education, how be sure that they are actually learning in the school, how to ask, what to ask, how to require that the institutions, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, are responsive to the needs of the students. So the parents also need to have some kind of training, and we need also to focus on parents and having programs like Raul Izaguirre's program to help the community reach a different level of understanding of the importance of education.
You've done so much for so many people, and you continue to be recognized not only for your academic philanthropy, but also because of the number of things that you personally have accomplished. So what's next? We're almost out of time. I'd like to know what the next step is in Dr. Chavez's life.
Well, I'm very interested in studying diseases, and I love that, and social problems, and that attracts a lot of students. Almost every young American wants to find solutions to social problems. And so my goal is to try to build some stronger ties with Latin America that can help us address problems of health that affect both communities and that are very interconnected to the problems that we face in the United States.
And just in case he finds a tiny window of opportunity in between all of these efforts on his part, on your behalf and on behalf of Latinos continuing to develop interests in academia, you never can tell when you'll see on the screen, and Supporting Actor Award goes to Dr. Carlos Castillo-Chavez. Anything is possible in America.